We can't just have this attitude that says, well, the justice system can do no wrong, and man, if somebody got arrested, they're probably guilty, and if they were declared guilty, then they must be guilty. And just putting all this faith in that system when God tells us what the heart of the unregenerate man, the unsaved man is like. But yet today, I've sat and watched where in a jury selection process, the judge asked the jury, would you automatically assume that a policeman is telling the truth, and would you give more weight to his testimony than that of someone else? And they said, oh, of course. I mean, we're taught to trust our police officers. They're public servants. They love us. And I mean, that's what most people, they'll just automatically be. Therefore, if a policeman says this person did it, or this evidence there, they'll just automatically believe it as gospel. That is not biblical according to the Bible. Just because someone is arrested does not mean that they're automatically guilty. But this is how we think in our society today. Now, if we're going to judge in the church, and if we're going to say, well, we don't want to go to the unjust, we want to judge in the church, we need to know some basic principles of justice. Right. And that number one is the government officials and police officers are not saints that are above lying. But number two, it's that just because someone is accused or just because someone is arrested, that doesn't make them guilty. Look at John chapter 18 and see this mentality in the Bible. Verse 28, then led they Jesus from Caiaphas unto the hall of judgment, and it was early. And they themselves went not into the judgment hall, lest they should be defiled, but that they might eat the Passover. Pilate then went out unto them and said, what accusation bring ye against this man? You got to love this answer from the Jews here in verse 30. They answered and said unto him, if he were not a malefactor, we would not have delivered him up unto thee. So they asked, well, what's the charge? What is he being charged with? Look, if he weren't a bad guy, we wouldn't have arrested him. What's the charge? Why does that matter? So you see the mentality here of just, well, if he's been arrested, if you're being brought before the judge, if you go to court, you're already presumed guilty by most people. Now, in America, we supposedly have the presumption of innocence. You're supposed to be innocent until you're proven guilty. But de facto, in people's minds these days, we just think that you're presumed guilty and you have to prove your innocence, which is the exact opposite of what the Bible teaches.